Tibetan, they're big stone. It's a stone, sir. Stone, sir. Head. Big head. They look in the glasses, houses, cars. Very, very. Before, I never heard that. The very big house. I think they are local. 10 to almost 2012 finish. Coming. All every country, every place, there are four elements problems. In India, not big problem to flat. Is it flat? Flat, yeah. Anyway, this is a Lela country, my country.
So it all depends on our karma. The things can happen as we wish. It all depends on our karma. So if we are happy, it's by the kindness of our Guru Buddhas, and if we are suffering, then it's because of our own karma.
This is song. This is song. Song.
Poetry.
These are less at the Shraga. The trouble down.
So generally the karma is very subtle, right? And it's very detailed and subtle.
That's what we let the Sasha here, you know. And it take the Sasha, you know. And it take a driver to Suzu and top shit some kind of shop, never, you know. That driver children material, that driver young.
So once we have created the karma, if that is not purified by relying on the four opponent powers, the practice of the four opponent power, then definitely we'll have to experience the result, no matter how long it's been. And so about that karma, it's explained in great detail in the liberation in the palm of your hand.
lam-rim said it, Nabi Chuji, that would be Jumbo, Zawado, you had a lam-rim.
So the lam-rim, or the state of the path to enlightenment, is like the the root of all the teachings of the Buddha. So in order to achieve the full enlightenment, we have to engage in the practice of Tantra. But before we can enter into the practice of the Tantra, we have to have gone through the common practices. So those common practices are like the Guru devotion, meditating on the Guru devotion, death and impermanence, the precious imagery of birth, and so forth. And so there isn't any better text than the lam-rim, which explains these teachings, the common teachings on death and impermanence, karmic or cause and effect, Guru devotion, and so forth, better and in a clear way than any other text. And so therefore, practicing lam-rim is very important.
And sometimes that's the time you told us, lam-rim kadina shared chifado, then they should get
So sometimes it feels like a little bit boring to practice the lam-rim, because it seems like you're repeating, going over again and again and again, the same thing.
아니 남녀네 봐다 고주 딱 고런 뜻이 말이지.
So it is the teachings of the Buddha that is set in a gradual process of one's practice towards the state of enlightenment.
대자 나도 남들 나 쉬어야 배자 가는 쉬어야 내 사지가 손몇 빠진 거보다 써와라요 말이지.
So whatever teachings it is, if it is, as long as it's Buddha's teaching, then it has to be something taught by Buddha. So there isn't more or different than what Buddha has taught.
아니 제가 좀 쉬어야 예수 맞아 봐야 되지 메시. 다 그냥 손 맞아 말아야 매 손을 돼. 다 제가 좀 쉬어야 손을 다 먼저도 다 내가 시작을 봤어.
So that's why Shantidev also said at the beginning of his composing the engaging in the Geshe Ngawang Tenley, where he said there isn't something, there isn't something that I have to say which has not been said before. Means like so everything that he's going to say is already taught by Buddha. It's just in a different ways.
Okay. 근데 다 남놈들아 다 대상가도 다 저만 답이 걸라 시비값들이지.
And so now we're at the point of discussing about death and impermanence in this lam-rim study.
다내 제워당 내가 치워지는 마스 좀 성공했어.
And so this is explained in a great detail, with a great importance.
와. 다 원래 가서 암종나라야. 다 치워만 또 나도 수지 권유 좋은 말했어.
So none of us wishes to hear even about death, right?
But 나오는 달람 아주 지제 가서 지제가 공수를 다들 누가 개말하고 있나 공수라 이미 가서 도와나 지금 파트너 개고 통고에 나다 개고 통고인데 전화로 주시는 사람이지 가야 하는 거지 와서 무슨
So we even don't want to hear about that, right? And this is not necessarily true, but maybe a nice way of saying to people that they look very young, even though you know that they look old.
Right? He said, "Oh, you look nice. You look younger." This is this culture or this habit people Even someone said this people 40, 50 years old, they know that this. Oh, you look 20 years. It's their habit, right? It's a habit. Habit or this culture. 다 나오는 데가 말이야. 나를 딱 칸 임바데. 딱
So the lam-rim doesn't say in a nice way like that. It says whatever it is. So if you're old, it says you're old.
아니 가도 추위에 만세대 가리르나 사도도 보면 추위 있을
So whether it is dharma or not, whether it becomes a practice or not for you, it depends whether it kind of transforms your thinking or not, so whether you feel it or not.
어떻게 봐서 다 나로나라야다 신도그래 조금 시에다 마시나 타사요 말하는 거 마음을 납고 그랬어.
And so here it says, we're going to die, and also it says we don't know when we're going to die, and there's no way we can escape death.
얘는 다네 가르치려고 해. 내 것이 뭐 가르치려고 그랬어. 선물라고 그랬어.
So we have to think at this point why is it telling us this?
만두 가디나 만두지라 따들 겁니. 지금 얘는 뭐지 내가 자셔야 돼.
And so that is because we are habituated with the thought of permanence, grasping at permanence, thinking that I'm not going to die now, so thinking of staying for a very long time.
만두 시에서는 삼바 주도 책도 만두 삼바 요 말, 시에서 삼고 말했어.
Do you have that thought, thinking that I'm going to die?
You don't think that. You don't think that. Anybody else? You have a lot of plans. Right? Until we die, we don't know when we die. Until we die, we have a lot of plans. Usually that's good, we need to plan. But 다 나오는 소문이 근데 가서 다 처음부터 소문은 아주 따르게 겁내 아니 처음부터 전부 대 맞은 발 때네 아니 가서 추천을 말했어.
So because we are habituated with that grasping at the permanence, thinking that we're going to stay for a long time, with that thought, then we don't think of dying. And then if we don't think about death, then we don't think about practicing dharma. So in order to think about practicing dharma, it is important to think about death.
근데 예산 저와 맞은 발 때네 단자 대왕이 소소지라 지다 잡아서는 너무 먹고 싶다 소소 자주 먹고 싶지 그래서
And so because of that, then because of grasping at the prominence, then we plan all these different things. We always have more and more desire to have more and more things. And thinking that I need this for this time, I need this for this time, and always, accumulating more and more possessions.
아니 시다다들이 자기 최고 되나 디슬라 단 처음부터 같아 최고 그러면서 다 나오는 뭐 봐지 봐라.
Of course, we have to plan for those things, but we should not, completely be delusional with that thought, thinking that I'm going to stay for that long time, because we might die, right? And so, anytime. So, we should also think about the fact that we might die anytime.
대다 다 나서 다 최초대 아주 수보들 왔어.
So the most important, thing in our life is our body, our life, right?
내 수보는 다 지금 쇼요로 왔어.
So we treasure our body a lot, right?
나도 내 수보니 숫자씩 돼.
So who is more precious to us, me or my body?
Right? Which one do you think? I say I love myself. I don't know. 이제 다 간제
Self-conscious.
Yes.
I'm sorry, what do you mean? What's the difference between me and my body?
No.
You mean
No, which one do you think is more important?
For us.
Do you think your body is important or you are important?
Right?
Okay.
We can say this correct? Me on
My
what's
body.
what is more important for me? Me or my
Myself
body?
or my
Myself or my body?
I guess I'm thinking that we go through life mostly associating me with our body, so maybe they are not so different in this culture. The concept.
And this is another nice approach like how some kunzu daranda the degi da rishun kasa luxuchena. And another chidana kibashawa.
먼저 다 남비지는 되게 bad call 먹었어.
But according to Buddhism, or in reality,
Yeah.
these two are totally different, right?
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But now we say which one more important? Me or my body?
So now you understand the difference between these two, right? So which one do you think is more important? To you?
You're asking me?
Yeah. Since you brought up.
I'm still contemplating.
It's okay. Anyway, 간제 nga sayati 딱 나눠서 간제 nga 가온 무슨 nga지 딱 제가 돈만이 다다 다른 데서 그냥 가는 거로 돼. 나서지 나도 좀 넣어야겠어.
So the I, always I, right? The self always goes with oneself, right? I'm always there, right? From life to life. I came from past life, I'm here in this present, I'm going to go with future life. So the I is there all the time, the body is not, right?
다 간도 단대기 버리지 단도 간도 시 가디 시와나 아니 그것도 잘 넣어야겠어.
But this body, whenever we die, we leave it behind and it doesn't continue with us.
둘이서 먼저 빼라 샤야시 가르나 먼저 nga sayati 아니 정강나 되는 정보서라고 아니 수보스 가나 당에 홍보대 아니 호텔에서 그랬어.
So, the example of the body and the I is the body is like the guest room or the hotel, and then the I is like the traveler, who's stopping there for just a short time.
근데서 당 가도 제발 통하면 삼성 포 제발하면 삼성 못 제발해야 못 제발하는 사람은 아니 되게 메티가 다 무슨 거기래 우리 포 제발하는 사람은 되게 메티 포에서 거기래 그러고.
So it depends, depending on our karma, we might have different kind of rebirths, right? So sometimes we are born as male, sometimes we are born as female. So when you are born as a female, you have the female body. When you are born as male, you have the male body.
근데다 간제 맞지 호텔나 누구들도 호텔 딱고 샤는 로샤로 왔어.
So the guests, who come to live and stay in the hotel, they just come, stay there for the time that they need to stay, and after that, then they just leave the hotel and then go to elsewhere, right?
근데서 만조 시리사만 만조 수보도 샤는 줄 알았어. 와.
So same like that, when we die, we leave our body and then we go onward promote towards other life.
근데 단단 안 주고 단대게 말아주고 못하라 말아주고 땅다가 말아주고 딱 맞아 말아주고 제가 제주도 소수 못해서.
But because of that grasping at the prominence, we think we're going to have this body forever, and we treasure it so much, right? Have so much attachment to it.
근데 얘다 근데 차발에 때니다 지금 간지 먹게 먹고 듣고 먹고 지금 그래서.
And because of that, attachment, that we create so many negative karmas for this body.
근데 다들 차발 못하고 그래서 때 템포에 말때 거기만 그거 가도 잘하고 그래서.
And so, we have to reduce our attachment towards our body because it's going to be separated from us one day.
다 저랑 가시나 저랑 가고 그래서. 저랑 가요나 아니 저랑 누가 많이 와도 저랑 치고 그래서. 내가지도 다 개발되고 그래서.
So, if you love, then you should love yourself. If you love yourself, then you should do the thing that will not cause much suffering to yourself. Right? And so, doing that, reducing attachment towards your body will lessen your suffering. So, that is the way to love yourself.
근데 다들 lam-rim 그렇다는데 lam-rim 그거지 나도 암존 레시라고 말했어. lam-rim
So this is what how it is said in lam-rim, might not be very pleasant to your ear.
Right? My body is my best. The lam-rim said it's better for you. 근데 이제 다 간지 그 수보대 된지 단단히 수보도 근데 이런 것이가 돼야 딱 싫어 그래서.
And so we will not have this body with us for a long time. One day, sooner or later, we'll be separate from it. So we all accept that, right? That we're going to be separated from our body. And so no matter who we are, how rich we are, how powerful we are, no matter what we are, we're all going to be separate from our bodies, right? So that's how it is in reality, but we're not able to think like that. So because we're not able to think in that way, and in order to make us to think in that way, the lam-rim, his teaching explains many reasons, to think in that way. We all accept that we're going to die, but we are not able to think that I'm going to die. Right? And that's because of grasping at permanence. And so in the headings of the lam-rim and the teaching here, where the heading where it says it talks about the actual way to remember death. That's in page 304 in the blue cover book, and the heading number, the topic number is 136.
What is?
There we're talking about, it talks about the 9-part meditation on death and meditation on the aspect of death. Right? So those two, and then in the 9-part meditation on death, that is thinking about the 3 roots. This has 3 roots and 9 reasons. Right? Thinking about the inevitability of death, which has 3 reasons. The first reason we talked about. Right? We talked about the first reason, that lot of death will inevitably come, and no circumstances at all can prevent this. And so anyway, so I think we went through most of it, but first reason is to think that nothing can prevent our death, and so we definitely will die. We definitely will die because nothing can prevent us. You know? And then there's the second reason, which is thinking how nothing is being added to your lifespan, and it is always being subtracted from. So that's the first reason, which is the Lord of Death will inevitably come, and circumstances will at all can prevent this, right? So, so any kind of, no matter what kind of body you have to die. No matter where you are, what kind of place you are in, you have to die. And no matter what kind of methods you apply, you can't still stop the death. So the first one, no matter what kind of body you have, so all this you talked about all the different kind of beings who came in this world, like even like Buddha Muni, who took the emanation body, of the Prince Siddhartha, and then Buddha Muni, and then he passed away. And then after him, then there came all these great masters, great scholars like Nagarjuna, Asanga, and then after that, then even like Lama Tsongkhapa and all these great teachers. And then it also mentions about Lama Tsecholing Rinpoche, who was the tutor to Dalai Lama. Also, was a great Lama who has also passed away. So, no matter what kind of rebirth, what kind of body you come in, you will have to die. And from now, like in 100 years, none of us here will be alive. We'll all be dead by then. And so, in the next page, where it talks about the sayings of the Buddhas on impermanence, so wherever you stay, there will be no place that does not mean you're dead. Not in the sky, not in the sea, not even if you stay in the mountains. So no matter where you are, the death will definitely come.
Okay. Example, this house built how many years? How old is this house?
100 years.
100 years?
Probably.
Who built this up first? These people already died. We don't know where. But we can use it here. The one time, the story in Sarah, one lama is going to put the seeds for some apple seed. Then, so some other the apple, the seed 근데 계신바이 거라는데 다저 나게 좀 하시는 마대문에 그렇게 저한테 시도 사야라고 말했어요. 아니 그래 봐가지고 그랬어요. 저렇게 다는 사대의 시도 되게 저렇게 따로 있었어요. 하나 시어야 이 마음 무슨 거예요. 이제 다 알았어요. 그래 말했어요.
So there's a senior monk, older monk who was planting an apple seed, and then another older monk who was walking by, he saw him planting seed. He says, why are you planting seed? Why don't you go ahead and go and do something else, something like more like a practice, dharma practice instead of planting the seed. By the time it grows, you'll be dead, so you will not have, you will not be able to eat that in apple. And then the man, the older monk who was planting the seed, answered to him saying that, did you plant the apple that you're eating now? And so it says, even if I plant now, even I don't do it, somebody in the future generation will get to eat it. So that's why I'm planting it now.
Anyway, this house was built in many years, but they're all gone now to make use. Usually they're different monks.
So there's don't argue with the monks, the monks who study philosophy and who debate a lot. And that's a word in Tibetan, but we don't have that word in English, so you have to put it in a wrong way. So a monk who study philosophy and debate a lot, they're very good at talking, and they can defeat you very easily. So they say, don't talk with them.
Example is an old monk go to the city and he's asked, did you eat? The other one thing maybe he thinks he tried to eat when they grow up the food, but maybe he's not. The other person not there. He said, I'm afraid that this is not for me, because are you eating that food? Are you put this ground? Or he said, no example anyway. There's philosophy. Who study the philosophy is very easy to think because they're all debating. Yes, was study.
Geshe was saying about that the philosophers who are very good at talking, and so there was one monk who went to stay in an old lady's house, and then so they were sitting around the fireplace, and then they saw a bug there, and then she said, "Oh, take that bug and throw it in a place where it will not die." And then the monk said, "If there's such place, please throw me there too." So then since then the old lady said, "I'm never going to allow any monk studying philosophy to stay in my house."
Anyway, this is I think this maybe seems loyal. Lawyers also very talk loud, right? Same thing, philosophy. Philosophy is very important to open your mind. We call it the key. Okay, anyway, 다음은 또 말로 예스로 왔다 못하면 손을 가는 다처럼 이 갈았다 처럼 리 간지 나와야 나차 제시로 그랬다 되게 말씀을 받아왔어.
So before this part, it's saying that no matter what kind of body you take, you will die, right?
다 되고라 다처럼 내 가리셔 받아니 저는 시로 그랬어. 뭐셔서는 뭐야 말했어.
And so then here it's saying that no matter what kind of place you are at, you will definitely die. You can't escape death.
다 바나나 되더만 바나나 저 바나나 되는 맛이 와서 라서 치워요 말했어. 근데 저 잠수 나올 때고 그 말아 치워요 말했어. 어떤 말에 고르들이 쓰는 데도 그 맛이 다 치워요 말했어.
So it says if you fly up in the sky, you can't escape death. And if there isn't somebody who's been in the sky, in the space, and never died. And the same with the sea. If you live in the sea, then you will not die. So there's no such place in the sea that you will not die, because we don't have example to say, oh, someone lived in the sea and never died. And the same with the mountains. So if you live in the mountains, there's nobody can escape death either.
What? It is this semche to log. Chala to log your semche can say,
So this is we're talking about sentient beings, right?
We're not talking about some material things, when a source said it, and then to source a look said, long something as well. And you long tell a root, so to Nipachan, you chest you.
So right now our life is kind of held by by the wind in our body. So whenever that wind stops, then the life support will no longer be there, and then it will leave the body.
어디 이제 반나라 메스 시자주나 메스 시에서마다 네 잡고서지 지포 파시 보자 소바서리 갑 뭔가 그 파시 보 어나들지 싫어도 제비스 tamja 도탐에다 당게다는 가지에서나 잡고서자다 아니 파시 보니 다 샤지에서다 아니 그 뭐냐니 다 차상 샤지에다 뭐다 동작 처럼 그 차상 가지 마지에 세워야 말이지. 대 도타라 아니 뭔가 그 공부 도타 쳐야 되는데 전주 때 도타를 쳐야 되니까 도타 해 말이지. 도타 마셔 말이지.
And so here it says once Prince Vidudaka, King Prasannaji's son, intended to slaughter the Shakyas. The Mongoliana thought to use his miraculous power to cast Vidudaka and his army beyond the Iron Mountains, and that enclosed this wood. But Buddha said it was impossible to stop them. Some Sakya men and women were concealed inside the Tathagata's begging bowl. Some were put inside the palace in the sun. But even those Sakya were still killed, and that day was such that they were going to die. And so no matter where they are, if their karma is to die, then they will definitely die.
어떻게 수주 내가 사셔야나 탑시 가는 거 가르쳐와나 가지고 싫어요. 산재가 모세 올지 되어나 싫어요. 그래서.
And so if you have created the karma to die, then you're definitely going to die, even if you're hidden inside begging bowls of the chatting.
근데 이제 가르쳐나. 오늘 레사 잡아는 배다 네 아니 가르쳐나. 공부를요. 아니 짜 짜자마지가 똑같은 동벌되는 짜자마지가 깨지네. 공부 쪽들이 마음이들이 중요한 거. 레디는 싸셔요. 이런 데들 했어.
So and also like the karma that Nagarjuna created when he was only being, by cutting the neck and of an insect with a blade of grass, and then so he created such a karma to die in the same way, and so nothing was able to kill him but a blade of grass.
아니야, 내야 다, 내 자가래 제보들에 제면 먹고 싫어요. 그래서 좀 하고 이러서.
So as you might know that in ancient time, the kings would have many queens, right? Many wives and many queens.
아니 삼삼들의 교회도 다 거기서 나와요. 많지만이 빼줘라는 거지.
Of course, then because there are many queens, and so there will be many fights, right, among the queens.
텐데치네다 그 맛이 자보시기야. 다 남자들 자보가 시기 하고 가지. 아니 가시 지금 많지만이 다 자보 보라는 거야. 좀 가시 좀 쇼지 몇 번이다. 세워야 말이지.
And so there were this kind of became like a two group of queens, and then the one group burned the other group in the palace and killed them all.
아니 뒤에 갈라야 아니 텐데가 좀 가시라야 뭔가 지금 다 남는 프리야기 로바다 이제도 토들이 먹는 거 그래서.
And so at that time there were to some queens, they had a friend who had a realization to be able to fly in the skies.
예바야나야 소소 텐데가 자부 좀 제와 디바라야 많지마요. 대 난지마지 좀 심바들이 몇 번에 시고 내 소소만 사셔야 와이다. 다 소소 내 강화 사셔야 내대 다 소소 나가 채고 그래서 야 너무 그래도야. 마 내가 마 좀
So even among the queens who had the realization to be able to fly, they could have escaped, but because they had created karma to die by being burned in the fire, therefore even they tried to fly, but they still fell in the fire and died. So they created all this karma, the karma to be born as a queen, to be married to the king with so many queens, and to get into a fight with other queens, and all these things. They have created karma. So once they have created the karma, then you can't stop it. You definitely have to experience the result.
어디는 소도와 시에서는 저와 공화나 아니 조과진의 준주사요 말했어 봐. 근데 변전으로 지나 효야요 말했어. 근데 또 친구지 다 이윤에서도 받에 들려주사요 말했어 봐.
So So it says here, right, running away, bribery, force, etc. will all be quite useless, from the, and it says from the saying of the Buddha, anyone with the 5 clairvoyant powers of great rishis able to go far into the sky cannot go to the place that is not under death's jurisdiction.
And then some of Transo Chimbo Nganshi, Kalajari Robata, Kamashi, Michibi, Nedishina, Yamayas. That Transo Pena, that Yeshinga told the day by the that 20 Mares.
So even if you have that kind of realization that the clairvoyance and power and so forth, you can't escape from that.
What she so bad that Juve Tarsada and the transforming shape. Not to enjoy your body in Chito, Juve Chodia, the hatred in Matawa, children.
It says, in other words, if fleeing could free you from death, then having this power or the 5 clairvoyant powers of the rishis would be sufficient to run from the Lord of Death. And it says that even in a force, even if you're a very powerful person, you still have to die. And it says that the most powerful animal, like lion, can defeat elephants by clawing their heads. But when that comes, lions die with their claws drawn in.
That's true, right? What is it? And the Thubten Damchoe Jabo, Thubji, Nubaban Chua, the Thubten Damchoe said that Shiva is.
And even like great and a very powerful universal monarch must die.
And
so all his powers cannot happen.
And Genoda, Genozella Gavan, the Tala Pona, Chavala, Nojihava, Yonto, Yaja, and in Koloji, Javo, Noran Buchi, Shatamepa, and not to Kalila Dores, Genila, Minima, much of this.
And says we taught up our beloved wealth and property, and we suppose that these things will be enough to bribe the Lord of Death. But if, as they say, he cannot be bribed with the precious jewels of the universal emperor, how can we speak now of other people bringing him bribes for bribing him?
Didn't lie, but Laman did not Yabushra Yamak Maris. Cannot do the deity of the was.
So just like I said earlier, lam-rim doesn't say much, things that is pleasant to our ear.
Right? Whatever we lack, then lam says, no, don't do that, don't do that. Just, this is the truth. That thing, the Lord has paying me about that.
So what we think is good for us is actually not good. And so that's why lam-rim teaches us exactly what is good for us and what is not good for us.
Jabola them to that is such a is. Tapena, that 20 Tarsa Maris, Pena 20 maybe spend it. Show you the Roche and show Genis, that row, Richemboji, Sawa, Temba, and then Trapoimba, Temboimba. Niboda the Nano Tumba in Maimba, and then Mashiba, Makeva, and then Pemeba, that Jumeba, shed the Tibana, Rimboda, that top of the Bachi. And you Russia shop shilling away with that. And then I reached the Lepana, that Tibar, Zada, Shina, Yagana, Lomara, Tamchet, any Tamchet, Semchan, Socha, Jumbo Tamchet, Shamar, Tamchi, Takanga, Tamdi, that the machine is so do. What is Shuaina? Jope, that Chuvata, and the top Chimboda, Doba, Norji, Doba, Zeda, Nada, Mechanism, that daughter of my was.
And then in the instruction given to the King Sutra, this Sutra spoken or taught by Buddha, it says, suppose there are 4 great mountains in the 4 cardinal directions. They are firm, stable, with solid cores, are uncracked, indestructible, extremely hard, uniformly dense. They touch the sky and thrust into the ground. On they come, granting all the powders, all grass, trees, twigs, branches, and leaves, and all animals, insects, and elements, they cannot be stopped by fleeing, by force, by wealth, by substance, mantras, or medicines.
어디 자치모 대전은 지바치모 다 원대스 다라 조베 초가 똑지 도로 노지 도가 대단 어디 많이 나왔어.
This great king, the four great terrors are similarly coming. So they cannot be stopped by fleeing, by force, by wealth, by substance, mantras, or medicines.
Yeah, well, it's kind of big mountains coming. If some wars, some they take a mountain, short part of the short was, and they pay the lang of short shin and young keep a dream time was.
So if it's coming from only one direction, then you can escape to the other direction, right? But it's coming from all four directions towards you, and so there's no way you can escape.
It's true. And the Shiva. And that to the Tagamaret, to Rosa Maret, Majas, you might top chena, top Momsa, you might and the man to let to that here, Majamato.
So no matter what, you cannot escape the death by any of these things, by power, wealth, medicine, mantras, and so forth. So once you have created a karma to die, you definitely die. So why is talking about it again and again and again? So think about that. So just like it is said here, we do accept that we're going to die, right? We cannot escape the death. So we all think like that, right? So that, yeah, this is true, like you say in the text, that we're definitely going to die, we cannot be escaped from death. But because of not practicing or meditating on death and impermanence, there comes all the faults. So thinking about these reasons is what we call meditating on death and impermanence. So why are we going to die? We're going to die. Why? Because of this, because of that. No matter where we are, no matter what kind of body we have, no matter how much wealth we have, no matter what kind of medicine we use, we're definitely going to die. So if you keep thinking like that, so and then when we think that way, and then on that thought, thinking that I'm going to die is kind of stable or solid in our mind, and then we'll think, okay, so if I'm definitely going to die, then what is going to be of benefit to me at the time of death? And then when we see that only the Dharma practice is of most benefit, then we think about practicing Dharma. And so none of those things that we have now can be taken with us when we die. The most precious thing in our life is our body. Even that has to be left behind. And no matter how much loving parents or friends or relatives we have, none of them can accompany with us. And no matter how much wealth we have, we can't take even a penny of that with us. So all these things has to be left behind. And so by thinking about those reasons, then we have to come to understand that we're definitely going to die, so therefore only thing to do is practice Dharma. Definitely practice Dharma. Of course, you're practicing as much as you can, but you have to try to do even more. So these four great terrors, those the great mountains are an example, right? And so here actually is referring to the old age, sickness, decay, and death.
다 가와 사이트 간데 다 달아봐봐 지바 간다 가서 노슈마스마다 로겐도 같은 거 맞아.
Says great king, old age will come and destroy you in your prime.
뭐 나도 그러다 로 최세 로 나와 님마 최세 까마 가자니 지금도 왔어.
So like the prime is talking about the youth, right? When the old age comes, the youth will be gone. I said youth will just be no longer young. You got old. So the time of decay, doesn't happen like instantly. It decays, over the time, like, year by many months, month by many days, day by many hours, hour by many minutes, minute by many seconds, like that, and then the milliseconds and so forth. So that's how the time passes, right?
대군이 다 대군이 용거 나도 신경을 보고 시신경을 보세요. 나도 저한테 스트레스 승부를 말하는 거죠.
So we do know that, right? But we don't really seriously think about it.
그래서 스트레스 성도 따로 다 대군이 다니다 또 보셔서 다 취도 적고 도서요.
And so then we have to more seriously think about it and think that we're going to die, definitely going to die. So only thing that's going to be beneficial is the Dharma. So I should practice Dharma.
간제다 다 가봐서 때 간제 다 달바서 반좀 다 달바서 반좀씩 못을 봐. 아니 나와서 내면 반 좀씩 못다 내면 받아 나오고 와서.
And then it says the sickness will come and destroy your health. And so the old age destroys the youth or prime, and the sickness destroys the health.
봐. 다 그거도 부서서 담좀 좀 못을 다 기어와서.
And it said the decay will come and destroy all your splendors.
봐. 아니 공부가서 다 문틀이 다 나도 개고지네. 개리 신경이나 공부도 방을 잠깐만 방들은 양도 그래서.
And like our senses, like our sense powers, will decay over the time, right? As we grow older and older, these sense powers, decay, degenerate, and then at the end of life, if we die in a slow process with the old age, then all of this will be completely gone at the time of our death.
봐. 아니 배나 암조야 보면 그 우리가 하고 사는 가라 소야 제마들 가라 조명이 하면서 계속 잘 왔어.
So you can't see clearly, you can't hear clearly, right? And you use the hearing aids, you can't taste, you can't feel much and all these things. So all the sense power decays as you grow older.
전에 미간가 소설 막하게 잘 왔어.
And then people will not like us, right, as we grow old.
That old people doesn't like the old people, too complicated, they say. Even, the younger time, they really like everybody, but they're getting old, even the, very family close ones say, oh, too complicated, my father's father, too complicated.
So people say that's right.
된적이 맞아, 간지 소소 된적이 다 분소박하면 냠네. 근데 소소가 완화처럼 효를 된적으로 이해했어.
And so all this, the splendor will decay, and then people will not like us anymore.
된적이다 소소로 된적 많이 오시다 단다 소소 증언이 딱 냠토고도 경고 두드러지 로박한테도 이 잠시 이렇게 좀 잘해버렸어.
So in order not to experience the same thing, for ourselves, it's good to serve the old people. Try to be nice to them, talk to them, spend time with them, and so forth.
어디지, 되지. 다 처와는 딱 쏘주지. 다 처와다 딱 쏘다는 거 알아요, 봐. 아니 간지 먼저 딱 쏘세요. 간지 롱 섬겼다. 이 롱들은 니바 그리 냠송이나 다 싫어 그랬어.
And then the death will come and destroy your life force. So like I said earlier, the life force relies on the wind. So whenever that wind is, loses its power, when the wind loses power, then they do not be able to hold the life force, and then that life force will leave the body.
다도 야가서 전소까지 특식이었어. 가지. 아니 깨리 깨지다야 대원을 바까지다. 그래서다. 딱 주다가 정도 봐. 딱 가서 죽으려고 했어.
So Geshe Ngawang Tenley, one of the Dalai Lama, said, from the time we are born, we don't even rest for a second. We're always running towards death.
다 무슨보 다 가래 섬ning 가서 세사지 치료로 종강이 다 종강가 세사지 받치다가 대체와도 직발에 와서 말이죠.
And it's similar, to the prisoner, who's been taken, to the place to be hanged.
드리기 다 삼세 쪼 드리기 눈에 다 마스에 빼쪼도 와서.
And so this is how this is the reality of our life. So when we really think in that way, we see that how tragic our life is, right?
로 미치피 세가 치료하다 가서 근데 빼 샤나 사오로 빼 쪼로 와서 핑 받치는 거 가고 나로 와서.
So if a person is punished to be hanged to death, then this person is taken, right, led by a policeman towards the place where he's going to be hanged. And so how much terror, fear he will have in his mind that he's walking towards the death, he knows that, right? So this is similar, in our life, we're always walking towards death.
Are you guys running to die? You don't say you're running to die. Can't you say? Nearly come second don't know you.
So, but anyway, our life is being used up, consumed. Every minute, every second, every hour is becoming shorter and shorter, and coming closer and closer to death.
그래 진짜 종강나 세야 되게 되고 공부 찍자. 나 제대 시화가 세야 나다 같이 공부 찍자는 거 시간 파년 로여로 나도 통으로 가네.
So if the person is going to be hanged at 4 o'clock, then every second makes him closer to that time, right? And every step brings him closer to that time.
다 자와께서도 나도 대대 찍바 찍잖아. 나도 시야다 로도 없어.
So Geshe Ngawang Tenley said, we are exactly the same as that. We're walking towards death.
다 때나도 다들 렌드는 나도 상담을 나도 문에 렌드야 렌드 가디 싶어도 하고 말아.
So it's really true or not to think about that, because we don't know when we're going to die, right?
근데 이다다 수수들에서 나도 강가 대캔 그래서 어다가 시계에서 야다 로케르견 시야 타기는 섬섬을 나도 다 시리즈 나도 섬도 말아.
So we do think that we're going to die. We do accept, oh yeah, nobody can live, so I'm going to die eventually. But then we don't really think that we're going to die anytime or sooner and so forth.
근데 다 뭔가 시계에서 다 세비지 대대 말이야. 대한 노래에서.
And of course, then being sad, thinking that I'm going to die is not good also, right? Being sad and sitting there and doing nothing is also not good.
네가 갈라 그랬나? 저도 그래. 심지한 거 말했어.
It's not saying to make you sad.
와, 다 가르쳐 가는 것도 내가 더 제야 돼. 다 시시해야 되네. 시리 삼아치 야 누가 많이 왔다 비치야 돼. 삼바삼바치 그래서.
So if we're going to die, then what will be the most beneficial for ourselves when we die? And then we think about that. Think about those methods to bring ourselves happiness at the time of death, especially.
아니 젬베가 삼바야 보이나 메텔레야 딱 심리시가 요사 말고.
And then so thinking about doing the good things, right? So if you do good things, that will help you at the time of death, being kind to others. Right? So if you are always thinking about others, being kind to others, then you don't have that kind of worry about yourself because you're thinking about others, right?
아니 가서 짱으로 무지 수술해야 한 미치 들어가듯이야스. 제가 가디 나타 뛰고 싶어도 가서 이거 들어가듯이야스.
So I think in Switzerland, somebody asked His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, the question saying, you look happy all the time. Why do you look happy all the time?
근데 이제 아니 짱으로 소소. 내가 제가 요때 나 셈바 딱 그냥 뭐 아니 딱 그면서 셈바 그냥 뭐도 진배를 삼바 휴지 되게 소소.
And His Holiness said, I think because I'm always relaxed and always thinking about others, maybe that's what's making me look very happy all the time.
진배가 삼바 가서 요와이나 아니 소소라 틱다 다스가 남지 소소 담아주고 누구요 와서.
So how much strong altruistic attitude you have towards others, thinking about the benefit of others, that much less suffering you will have yourself, that much less problem you have, that much less enemies you will have.
아니 만족지나 세나도 차도도 코로나에 가지나도 소수치 싸마든 저거는 소소 거야 용어면 것도 되나요.
And so why do we feel unhappy, angry, anxious, and so forth? It's because we're grasping at ourselves. I want this, I want that. And this person said that to me, and so forth. So it's always because thinking about us that brings us all these worries and sufferings.
근데 다 소소 거야 돼. 쭉 거야 생각 좀 직대는 로탕 수가 좀 고려나야. 또 소소는 예니지나 다 예 테스트 자 체로지. 기적으로 당장만 우리도 땅으로 채우고 왔어.
Of course, we always have to think about ourselves, but we should also think about others. Others, because others are very important for us, and therefore we should think about others as well.
그리고 진짜 다 가진 니콜라 단도 다 나도 지 걔네 가는 가와 다 가는 로도 왔어. 걔네 로도 왔어. 아니 나는 용도 왔어. 다 신은 로로 왔어. 다 레도 왔어.
So it's true, right? These four terrors or four powerful mountains, which are coming towards us, crushing us. The old age, which is happening with us all the time, right? As we're growing old, every minute, every second, and then the decay and the sickness and the death, all this are true, right?
근데 니콜 삼모 양아냐 따네. 아니 다소 냠내 소도 냠내 쳐야 돼. 나그
So we should think about these facts and then think about practicing Dharma.
그래다 다 시간가 시도하지 마시다서 샘치야 막 시도 그랬어.
Of course, we're all going to die, so there's no point in sitting there thinking that I'm going to die and feeling sad about it, right?
다시 차내 누가 많이 탑시 가르쳐줬나? 대체 그래서 시에는 또 마시 탑이 쳐야 말이야. 다시는 누가 여기 많이 탑이 쳐야 그래서.
And so there's no way we can stop that, right? So even if we're worried, we'll still die. If we're not worried, we'll still die. So being worried about that will not help us. So what will help us, or what we can do, is to bring happiness for ourselves after we die, right? So that we can do. We can make ourselves to have more happiness after we die.
배는 만수 대 단단해 줘도 없지. 다 만수 통해라 다 들어도 냐다 들어도 다 동치야 왔어.
And so, for example, like right now, as we can see, the animals, the lower beings that we can see, and so they have more sufferings, right, than the human beings.
그래서 만수 들이 마치야기 청소 다 등세 요왔어. 근데 게임으로 등세 요왔어.
But do we, any of us here, have a confidence that we're not going to be born as one of those animals?
다 소소 들이 제나 간제 줘서 다른 사람 땅으로 해서 와.
So we don't have that confidence, right? As ordinary being, we don't have that confidence. But we can think, how would it be if I were to be born like that?
그래서 다 콘도들에서 그 가져야 뭐 그냥 나랑 들이 제나 간제서 수 대상 다나 근데 다 대마지하게 탑시 달아져요. 그래서.
And so then, then you will feel the fear, right? So being born as such and such animal. And when you feel the fear, and then you will think of the means to prevent that. So because it's so bad and so afraid to be born as such. So what can I do to not to be born as such and such animal?
그래서 랩이나 들로사야게 랩이나 단대 기왕은 랩까지 쌓아야 미시는 기왕은 뭐 쌓아야 그래서.
And so then we have to think about the karma, the action, the cause that brings about that kind of rebirth to us. And so, so mostly, in general, it's the negative karma, right? So the negative karma, that we may have created in the previous life, maybe we're not creating much in this life, but still creating, or maybe not much as what we might have created in the previous lives, which we don't know, right?
어떻게 봐야자 다 그러나 또 시에가 도와야 매래서 와. 나 시에 누가 많이 와도 도와요. 그래서.
And so, preventing those, trying to purify those negative karma is the means, to be not to be born as that. So we can apply this kind of means, to not to be born as an animal, but we can't apply any means, to not to die.
어떻게? 근데 다 특히콜라 다 나도 가기 하고 고요에 대칭 케어 내거든 나도 다 누가 된 냠내 맞아 와.
So we do think about that, right? We do know that we're going to die. We do think that we're going to die, but we don't really practice it in detail, seriously like this by thinking of all these reasons, right? Because of that, we're left behind not practicing Dharma.
진짜 로 고마이나 아니 다 고마이 그런 성탄 고마이 그처럼 고마이 되냐 그래서.
So if we keep on thinking about that again and again, then we can be, habituated with that thought, right?
진짜 되게 고마이나 다나냐고 고마이나 아니 슈마 시간은 거야 시험금이 그래서 맞아요.
And so if you are afraid now, that's good. Then you will prevent it, right? You will do something And then actually when actual death happens, you don't be afraid because you have already applied the means not to be born in the lower realms.
그리고 배나 룸발라 지금 무게 연구나 수수 지금 딱 배선으로 셉시샤나 수수시라 생기고 말고 가는 거 tradition이잖아.
So if there's going to be a famine in the country, and if you have already saved enough for yourself, then you're not be afraid. I say, oh, even if that happens, no problem. I have enough.
어peter은 가제다 지금 네가베자마 지금 수수 검게다 검스는 디고 삼당고 그래서 와.
So it's like that, you're still preparing yourself, for that time. So you take the, think about that now, meditate on that now again and again, and then at the time of death, you will not be afraid, you will not die with worry or suffering.
무슨 검래야 제검도 조금님이 시험 말했어.
And so, as you know, there are two kinds of meditation, right? Stabilizing meditation and analytical meditation.
제금 세대 아니 빼잖아 강송셔가 사지가 송셔 대리마 송셔가 다 레드도 문득대 딱 빠져지니 마 제대 제금 세와 조금 세대 딱 뒤도나 때지도 삼었다 내가 조금 세.
So analytical meditation, is more like contemplation. So you are thinking about the reasons that is explained in the text. You say, oh yeah, this is like this, and so and thinking about those reasons and analyzing on it also whether it's true or not, whether it's, if this way or not, if that way or not. So thinking about that, analyzing. So that is called analytical meditation. So once you have analyzed it, and then you come to the conclusion, yes, it is how it is. This is how it is. And then when you know that, and then you set your mind on that thought. And so that's called stabilizing meditation.
Now we have a lot of meditation. We have walking meditation, talking meditation. that 공부하는 게 시도했어. 시전에다 맞아 공부하다 맞아. 딱 일이 없었어.
And so, that's nowadays you might hear that, those kind of meditation, right? So meditation, walking meditation. Of course, that's not different. That's different from what we're talking about here. You're meditating while you're walking. Right? And so while you're walking, if you're meditating, the meditation you do, even if you're doing it while you're walking, it's only two kinds. Either it's analytical meditation or stabilized meditation.
어떤지 인자 다 같이 또 다들 처음 왔다 온 거 나베 가르나 다 기와도 접고 그래서 그 디테일하다 그래서.
And so the reason why we're talking about this, the death and impermanence, is so that we practice Dharma.
어디 다들 사실 동보대 가지고 내가 처와서 말이다 친선 말했어.
And so that was the first reason we were thinking that we would definitely going to die, right?
근데 진짜 이바다 다 내가 지금 그랬어. 다 지금 진짜 가르나 아니 제가 눈비자야 말이야. 저도 우리 지금 눈비자야나 눈비자 쪽으로 와서 아주 제가 눈비자인데 와서.
So the second reason, thinking how nothing is being added to your lifespan, and it is always being discerned and being subtracted from.
다들 다 데리고 되는 샤스. 아니 좀 좋아하는 좋아다.
So we'll stop here for today and continue from here next time. So if you have any questions, you can have some question answer.
근데 뒤에나 아니 숙제 들어오고.
So if you can make time, you should read these texts again and again.
남은 세대 개치 못이라. 남은 야보 남은 양야보나 아니 소소 생각 기본 거래. 양내 야보는 거래서.
So of course first read once, and then if you have time more, then read again, then again, and again. Anyway, so if you read it, then you understand, and that will really help you to make your life meaningful.
아니 저는 테마 걸 원하는 저는 테마 그 고마라고 그러고 그래서.
So because every time you read, you understand more. If you understand, you read 9 times, you'll have 9 different understandings.
그래서 대 가로 다 진짜 말하고 그 학교한테 코는 저와서만 수수비 가는 다 망하고 와서 달라서 망하고.
So more you read, more you understand. It's not that there's a different content in the text. It's the same thing, right? You're reading the same thing, but you understand better.
If you are more familiar with the text, then you can understand more your mind. When I was debate, and Sarah, long term, when I do debate more on one subject, this is still very easy, understand, very easy to remind. If you study the attitude to debate, then now even I read the books, I don't know what to talk about. This is more important to
So more you meditate, or more you familiarize, the easier it becomes. So there isn't anything that doesn't become easier through familiarization. So not just thinking that, oh, this is what Buddha said, this is how it is said in the lam-rim text, but rather, applying that into practice oneself and then thinking into those texts.
Okay? Okay, then any questions? No question? Yeah, go ahead.
At the point of death, if you're at the final, you're sort of leaving this plane, have you at some point, or will you talk about how to prepare the mind at that point? Because from what I understand, you can practice Dharma and absorb Dharma and contemplate Dharma your entire life, but at that actual point when you're leaving, that's extremely crucial as well, to have the right, I guess, mindset, if I'm making sense.
Yeah. So usually, you will know that you're going to die. If you're dying in that slow process, then you will know because you will see the signs. Of course, you have to study about those signs now. So even if you might see those signs at that time, but you have no idea. But if you study now, then you know. Okay, so at this time you're going to have this kind of sign. At this time you're going to have this kind of sign. At this time, so when that sign happens, that means you're going to die. So like the elements, the 4 elements in our body will absorb, and when one absorbs, then you will see the sign. Like the fire element, the water element, and your body will be very cold like with that, and the fire elements is decreasing, and then when the water elements will feel very thirsty and so forth. That kind of signs you can see, and then after that there is a sign. They call it the red increasing, like white appearance and so forth. Those are discussed in the Tantra. So those kind of signs you will see, that is after you have absorbed all these, the 4 elements in your body. And when that happens, you're definitely going to die. So at that time, if you know that, oh, this is the sign that's happening, and now I'm going to die, and then try at that time, try to make sure that you have a positive state of mind. So if you definitely die with a positive state of mind, then it's definitely that you're not going to be born at all. And so at that time, try to think about, the Guru devotion, right? Think about the Guru, think about Buddha, and try not to have any delusional thoughts like attachment, like attachment towards one's family, one's friends, one's possessions, and like not have any anger towards enemies. So try not to have those things. So making sure, and of course all those comes. That is possible only if you practice now. And so if you don't practice and you familiarize yourself with that and with those thoughts, that will not happen at the time of death. It's possible, but very, very unlikely. So that's on the slow process, like in the process of death, in the slow process of death, after like you're lying in the deathbed, when you're very old or when you're very sick, and you're lying in the deathbed, and then you can think about that. But then when you have a sudden death, like in a car crash, you can't think those things. And so if the person is dying, lying in the bed, waiting to die, and then the Buddhists will always encourage the person to have good positive thought. So they will not talk about like attachment to this life, friends, relatives, or possessions. So instead, recite prayers, mantras, and talk about positive things and things like that. So that's to encourage the person to have positive state of mind at the time of death. So and then some people, they also play it on the CDs. They play the mantras, prayers on the CDs. Let the person hear that when he or she's dying. So if we have any friends or relatives that are dying, and we're happy to be there with them, and then we should always say the things that will bring positive state of mind to them. Don't say things about that will make them to have attachment towards their friends or relatives or possessions. Don't talk about those things. So if the person dies with a strong attachment to a possession or relatives or friends, then that will be very difficult for the person who's dying, and that can also cause difficulties for people who live behind. So there's the story of this a father, a man in the family, who has a pond in his backyard, and he fish, catch fish from there and eat. And at the time of death, he was thinking about the fish. Right? He died with the thought thinking about the fish, so he was born as a fish. And then because the father used to do this, now the son is also catching the fish, and then he happened to catch the fish. That was his father in his previous life. So that kind of negative karma carries on like that. So thinking about death is important at this time now when we're still alive, not in the deathbed yet, and it's important because then we can prepare ourselves. Familiarize ourselves with that thought to have a good thought at the time of death. So if we don't think about death and impermanence, we'll not think about preparing all this at the time of death, right? So if we don't prepare ourselves, it is virtually impossible to have a positive state of mind at that time. There's a very chance, but very, very unlikely. So, maybe that really helps. I think that definitely helps a lot if you think about death and then practice Dharma with that thought. Like the Tibetan old folks, they always have a mala in their hand and they're always reciting mantra because they were told that that will be beneficial at the time of that. So they're familiarizing themselves with that. And then when they're old, they're reciting, they spend their time in a meaningful way by reciting mantras, the prayers. And so it's very good for them, even if they're not in the deathbed yet. And then when they die, they still can die with that thought, of reciting mantra, because that's what they're familiarized with. Otherwise, nowadays here in America, like the nursing homes, and where old people are living there doing nothing, like they're waiting for death, but they're not spending time in a meaningful way, in a Dharma way. And then at the time of death, they die with so much sorrow and fear and worry. So preparing beforehand for death, by thinking about death and involvement is very important. So the familiarizing is very important. And so one of the old folk, the Tibetan folk, she's 86 years old, and every day she's walking around, circumambulating the stupa and the temple, like 50, 60 times a day. So she's preparing for her death.
This is also habit, The Tibetan culture is, always holiness, a very good culture. But then
So because that, brings them, they spend their time in a meaningful way by doing that. And it's also very good for their health, right? Walking.
Sometimes they say, they just talk.
So they're so used to counting, the rosary, that they're supposed to count it only when they're chanting, right? But then they're so used to it that they count it even when they're not chanting. When they're talking, they still count it. Count and talk. So anyways, familiarizing is very important. You can get familiarized as you do more and more. So if we keep on thinking about death and impermanence, and then bodhicitta, compassion, loving kindness, thought to benefit others. If we have that thought from now on, every day, then it's easy to have that thought at the time of death. So whatever thought you are more familiarized with, that is the thought that's going to arise at that time. So if we're not familiar with these positive thoughts, then to have that thought at that time is very difficult. So whatever we're more familiarized with, that is what. So if it's negative, then that's what's going to come up at that time. And so, like also if you die with attachment to your children or possessions and so forth, that can also harm, their children and the people living behind you. So they will be harmed also.
This is the Tibetan tradition, okay? Something there.
So, they have this kind of astrologists, who will check, what kind of rebirth that person has taken and so forth. So sometimes they can tell. Very difficult. Not very common to be able to tell exactly where you're born and all these things, but they can tell what kind of thought you had at the time of death. Or she died with a very strong attachment to your house, so you get rid of your house, jewelry, like that. And then they'll be advised to do a lot of pujas and prayers to do that. Yeah. To get rid of that. Yeah.
This is the Tibetan, wisdom way.
So those are kind of a cultural thing, to do those things by Tibetans. It's good. anybody can do it, but it's more like Tibetan culture.
가지 마지 다 도시가는 갈상은 다 계속된 저한테 개정시켜야 돼. 대체 거다 다른 개와잖아. 대체 되는 거 맞아.
So anyway, the answer to your question is that to die with a positive state of mind. And to be able to die with a positive state of mind, then you have to familiarize yourself with that positive state of mind from now on.
Okay? I think this is the main answer. Okay, then.
Yeah, stop there.
Okay, thank you. We'll stop. Hello. It's my neighbor.
Hello, neighbor. Yes. Can I ask a dumb question?
Okay, don't say dumb question, okay?
Okay? It's okay, thank you.
I think you're very loud.
I'm a newcomer, as you know.
I know.
I think you're a great person.
Thank you.
As life as I perceive this, I think I'm alive. I think I see you. I think I see these people. Okay? So, but I'd like to know why there is so much pain and suffering and imperfection in what I perceive as life. Where does it come from?
그런 거 선물로 그런 소부의 상급도스, 그런 심의 상급도스. 이나 단데나 세리 나라 되는데 심의 상부터 상부터 samyagi tseli nangla lungal kaje mo mushu yoras ane tamari mo ko kaje yoras
다테 당나도 남배 계시나 지금 그랬어. 남배로 소시 세워야나 아니 소소기 깨왕 엄마라야 다 다가 세워 말하고 뭐 진짜 그랬어.
So according to Buddhism, and in Buddhism, we talk about karma, action. So whatever the bad results that we experience now, all the sufferings, all the imperfections that we experience now, is the result of bad actions that were created in the past.
배가리 빼라고 생각했어. 지난게 다 쉬가로 아니 다 돈토야 보여 와겠지. 아니 스티당 쳐당 리즈야 보자와는 돈가다 리디야 보여 왔어.
So it's all cause and effect. So whatever result, whatever experience you're having is the result, and the cause for that is the negative actions, the bad actions that you have created in the past. So just like whether you have a good harvest in the fall or not depends on how well you have sowed the seed and how much the water, the fertilizers, the moisture you have applied to that seed. It all depends on that cause. As the cause and the harvest, good result in the fall depends on that cause. For example, if someone gets caught by police and put in a prison and punished very severely. So that thief, why did he get suffering? All these sufferings now being punished in the prison is because he's strong, right? So that's the cause. The stealing was the bad action that caused, and that brought the result of being punished. So usually we think that, it is the policeman or the law that is punishing me, right? We don't think that it was the stealing that punishing me. And so according to Buddhism, it's saying that whatever good or bad result that we experience is the result of the actions, good and bad actions that we have created ourselves.
Okay?
Yes, however, there's a higher being, I don't know how you people believe, a creator, or do you believe in the Big Bang Theory? If there is a higher creator, why does this creator allow bad to exist at all?
Yeah, that's why we don't believe in creator.
So, what do the Buddhists believe? How did this life as I see it, I perceive it, how did it start?
So it is created by our own action. So we created the cause by ourselves, and that brought us this life.
One last question. Is it possible for this beautiful Geshe Tenley to become a Dalai Lama himself?
Yours.
No.
No, but no.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, my neighbor.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I finished.
Please turn to page 39 of the Kurukulla Center.